My focus today was on the African continent, which clearly is very difficult to do because there are 54 states in the African continent. So what we did is started by celebrating what Africa has achieved since 1994, which was the International Year of the Family. And that has included the adoption of an African Protocol on Women's Rights, which is a fabulous document because what it does is it talks about equality between men and women. It talks about women's right to dignity. It talks about the importance of recognizing the work that women do in the home, as well as the importance of ensuring that women have access to land, and that the access to land is irrespective of their marital status, whether they be single, widowed or divorced. I think it's important that it celebrates the importance of widows and that it guarantees that they shouldn't be property grabbing, nor should they be subjected to degrading and inhuman treatment. I think it's a particularly important document because it talks about the rights of disabled women as disabled persons. It's the first human rights treaty in the world to introduce a reproductive right of termination within certain specific contexts, including rape, incest, and maternal health threats, and I think that's important. I think it recognizes African challenges in that it talks about women's right to participate after conflict, and also the rights of refugee women. I think being in a family law environment, we've spoken a lot about the importance of law and the role that law can play, but clearly if you don't have access to the law, then that makes life difficult. So the African Protocol says specifically not only that there should be more women judges appointed for gender's a plural perspective, but also the importance of ensuring that there is legal aid. And I think that's crucial. And in terms of just generally, our discussion has touched on issues of violence, which is a cross-cutting issue, meaning that all societies all over the world experience or have different forms of violence. So it's exciting and important that within the African Protocol, Article 5 expressly talks about female genital mutilation and says that the state must take both a preventative and a rehabilitative approach, because I think for too long people have focused on what happens in terms of trying to prevent it, but what happens about the girls and the young women who've already been cut. So it's important to provide them with social psychological services and of course health services. So I think that's been a great achievement. And African constitutions have emerged from their colonial starts, and so it's very exciting to see homegrown institutions that again reflect African values, which is the importance of economic, social, cultural rights. It's also been exciting to see that African states have actively chosen to say our customs, our cultures are important, but that those cannot be used as an excuse for the violation of the rights of children. And our constitutional and our Supreme Courts have done a wonderful job of implementing those and saying that it's important that we recognize that men as well as women, sons as well as daughters, should share in both the duty to look after their parents and families on death, but also to have access to the same resources. So all of that is enormously exciting. And the other thing that we talked about was the issue of children. And again, the African continent has been, I think, a leader in terms of regional development of children's rights. So we have the United Nations Children's Rights Convention, but we also now have the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. And what's been really exciting about that is the Committee on the Children's Rights in the African context has started to find its voice. So we have wonderful case law on the right of children to nationality. And so I think that's important, and of indigenous children to nationality. So we've also got an intersectional perspective developing where we recognize that, you know, Africans are, we're unified, but we're also different, and that's important.